Hello, everyone. This is a little bit more my good old format. A little different position in the room, but it is that time of year. So, this is basically a summation of how the game played. At the after school program yesterday, and so I'm just giving kind of a very brief update on how the first session went when you've watched the other two videos where I've created a haven directly from the book, from scratch, just rolling dice, looking at things and contemplating, and then NPC creation for a campaign. And now I'm giving you how that first session went. So just some funny things is that when I was 13 years old, I was playing with Space 1999 toys and the $6 Million Man toys and things like that. Um, I had two individuals who were in the same group of four who were dating each other. And I was drawn aside by the guidance counselor before the session as I was about to set up, and who told me that they had broken up, and that that one of the young people brought their mother along to ensure that the other party wasn't brokenhearted and was worried about their feelings. And so there was this trepidation going into the session, worried about whether or not it would work or if I'd even be able to play. Well, they were extremely mature. They both showed up. One person did not show up because of basketball practice. And with after school programs, one of the things that role players are constantly being challenged by is what do I do? What is the best interest for myself? And so I had canceled the Tuesday group for the rest of this season because of Christmas and because of my job and the importance of me getting around. It turns out that that was a good choice because both of them are in basketball practice along with this other young person. And so I couldn't have run it anyway. So I'm not even sure what the new year will look like with them because of basketball. So you're constantly in competition with these type of events. But the other three are very much involved, and two of them were dating. So now they're not, but they're still friends, and good for them for being very mature. So Paul Blart was absent because of basketball practice. So he was there, but really just an NPC voice more than anything else. Just so that you're aware, we have three main characters. We have Anita, the boxer, and has been very close to a deaf character until the deaf character had a translator, found a translator accidentally, and now that those two people are part of this group. Dakota is a surgeon, and she is an OC, an original character that goes back to our first beta play back in June of last year. So this is the last survivor of that basic group. And her husband, who she created and was a kind of vague NPC. It's a firefighter stuff. Anyway, in the last scene of the summer, he lost his arm because he was bit, and so she amputated, and I did black out the arm. So those are the three main. These are the three main PCs. And of course, Paul Blart, the lazy gamer, is there as well when able. They found themselves, oh, well, I might as well talk about the other two who are part of that group. Daisy is an NPC. She is from the book. Her name is Daisy Becker, and I'm running her as is, except for she is Serbian. So she doesn't write uh, in English, but sign language is pretty universal. And so she can communicate with sign language, and the person, Amal, who's a physicist and a hiker who was kind of trapped in the event 3 years prior in the Appalachian Mountains. And so she has been able to make her way around and now has found this group and now is with this group. But Daisy and Amal have become quite close, whereas whereas the boxer, Anita, has Daisy as her NPC anchor, but really Daisy is growing further and further apart from her. So there's a little bit of tension there. The five found themselves, I had told them that months and months have passed. They've wandered around, their limousine had run out of fuel. They had a number of walker encounters. They were constantly on the run. They're very, very hungry. And they found themselves on the top of a hill in a kind of area where they could actually light a fire eventually. And that it was just the five of them. They had lost two of their other members to zombie attacks, and they had lost a number of items. And because they had the limousine packed with certain things, they really didn't have a lot. Everything that they had, they were carrying. Let's put it that way. So Annika saw a deer, so utilized her scouting skill and found a deer, and then attempted to shoot it. Got 2 successes, did very, very well. Shot the deer, and unfortunately, when the surgeon was carving it up with a hunting knife, found that there was not a lot of meat on it. She did not have as many successes as she needed to be able to get kind of more than one meal out of it. Scrawny, not fed, searching for food, and whether I said that it was a really, really thin, emaciated deer, but they ate it anyway, and I had them cook for roll for cooking, which was done by our firefighter, one-handed firefighter man, who had grilled it all up, and it was nice medium rare. So I told them that because it was a red meat that they could eat it, but that if it was chicken, they'd all have salmonella. Anyway, so they ate their fill, so they had some energy, and they had heard a noise in the background. Now, we play in the school, and there's a generator noise that's in the background in the school. And so I said to them, "You hear that noise?" And they're like, "What noise?" And then they paid attention. I said, "Do you hear that kind of mechanical noise?" "Yeah, it's always here at the school." And I said, "It's like that. You hear that in the distance." And it was nighttime, and they looked, and they saw a place in the far distance, about 10 kilometers away, that was lit up, and lit up as if there was energy. So they've heard generators, and they've seen something that looks not like a city, but like a building, but they couldn't really make it out because it's so far away. But there's definitely light coming from this area, and light that was reminiscent of the old days and this wonderful kind of time. So that time has gone, and now we're in Zombieland. And so they went to bed that night. They cooked, and while the surgeon was carving this deer up, rolled a walker. And so had a walker attack. It was 2 walkers, and she used her katana and sliced off their heads. And I said, where are you slicing them? And she said, across the top of their heads. So they were absolutely dead, and that was wonderful. A good little scene. And then they heard some different noises, and they heard kind of something moving not that far away, because they've been very, very quiet. They thought at first that it might be walkers. I had them all roll scout rolls to kind of hear and see if they could gauge what it was. One of them figured that it might be people. I had them roll on what it could be, and it ended up, I said, okay, and this was not from the book, this was just kind of random. I just said, roll whatever, and I thought in my head, okay, if they roll, I think it was a 6, they'll get some type of animal that comes up, or maybe it was a 1, and it was a 1. And so anyway, they rolled an animal. So I went to the table, I rolled a D10, which luckily I have on my pad, because I didn't have any D10s with me. And so I rolled a D10, and I got a dog. Could have been anything. Could have been a snake. Could have been a wolverine. Who knows? Bear. But a crocodile, which I would have passed on. But it was a dog. So I had them roll about the size of the dog. I said a 1 is a rabid dog, and a 2 is a small to medium dog, but we're not talking about a multi-poo. And a 6 would be a very large dog, like a Great Pyrenees or something like that. So anyway, she rolled a 2, and they found themselves one of the players said it's a Springer Spaniel. So I guess this person has Springer Spaniels. So anyway, so they played with, so the Springer Spaniel came up. I tested to see who the dog was friendly with, and it was friendly with the married couple, but not with Annika, the boxer. So it doesn't like the boxer at all, hates the boxer actually, but really, really likes the other couple. They gave them scraps. They were the ones who were cooking, so I told them that, well, it's because of the smell of meat on you, and you're feeding them and stuff, and that's why this dog. So they named it Barbie Q. So female dog, I had them roll to see if the dog was pregnant, and they rolled a 1, and I said the dog is neutered. So they know now, because of the neutering, that the dog is older than 4 years, because 3 years was the event. So I said dog is like 4 years old. So anyway, that was good. They've named it Barbecue, spelt out, not BBQ. And so Barbecue was accompanying them, and noticed that there was another sound coming from around. So Annika, who has binoculars, was able to look around, saw about 1 kilometer away down the hill that there were some people moving through a little bit of a bluff. They weren't walkers. There was some pointing going on and stuff. They figured out that there were 2 adults, or she figured out that there were 2 adults and perhaps a child. So eventually they came across each other, and I had the leader of this group, B, kind of, say, are you friendly? And of course they said yes, and there was an interaction between them. She was very cautious about who they are. They wanted to know if these people were lost. B introduced Gus as a former student and also the general store owner. And they came across this loner teenager whose name is Latifah Jane. Now, Latifah Jane is very lippy. She swears, and both of the adults are like, "Don't you cuss! Don't you cuss!" And Gus does not like the cussin', and so he's very worried about how B is going to receive this impulsive teenager. And so they had nice interactions as NPCs, and the group kind of showed themselves, and B was able to see that Daisy was signing to Amal, and Amal was translating what was going on, and then B noticed this, and then B started signing, and Daisy starts crying. She like totally forgets about Amal and just goes and embraces B and gives her a big hug, and they're both crying, and everybody in the PC group is like, "How do you know how to sign?" "Well, I'm a principal. We had a deaf person in our class, and so we learned how to sign." And so now Daisy has a connection with one of this other group. And if you don't know, this other group has this big, massive spa. So they start talking about the spa, and that they were out on a reconnaissance mission to try to find people, that they send them out in threes, and they go out and they try to find people who are lost or who are still alive, and they bring them back to the spa. So I found a place online that I was quite happy with. I'm not going to name it because I don't want to name it, but it's quite a large spa resort type area, very, very massive. And I'm using that as the backdrop. So it's a gated community. It is a very large complex. And I have some ideas about how this is going to unfold, but I want them basically to go into this place with with an idea of this is a true haven. B and Gus have spoken very laudingly about the place, and they've built it up to be wonderful, and everybody has their jobs, and their leaders are very kind, and they feed them and stuff. Now, that's where pretty much we left off. Actually, where we left off was they were approaching, and so I had images from distance and then moving in closer so that they got a full picture of the daytime scene from, you know, a few kilometers away, a large complex, and then they got a little bit closer, and then they got a little bit closer, and their eyes were like big. They were like, wow, this is awesome, because it's so massive, right? So as a GM, I started to realize some of the problems. And some of the problems are, and I think I mentioned it in my last video, is that it is such a large complex that, and that's okay. That's not I don't believe that this is a problem. I think that what will happen is I'm going to need them to have a separate group. There are worker bees, or servants, or slaves, or whatever you want to call them, who are beholden to this group of seven. I'm a Canadian, so I guess group of seven is just a natural thing, and I love art. So if you know the reference, will be good for you. You get a star. So there's the group of 7 who are the leaders. There may be a hierarchy above that, which I may create, but I'm not sure. It may just be those 7, but they're party animals. You've got the worker bees, and I have to create some type of enforcement. So the next session next week, I'm already thinking to myself, okay, well, they're going to go in, and I need to introduce them to the area. So we already have one individual of the 7 who is going to be the liaison, who is going to give them tasks and say, okay, if you're going to stay here, you have to prove yourself. You have to go into this room and you have to clear the walkers. And so that will be the first task, is that they have to prove themselves and they clear the walkers. If they clear the walkers and they all survive, they will then be able to get rooms. So it's nighttime, and they've been traveling all day. So we're going to see how that plays out and how they react to this demand. I want them to be treated wonderfully well in the beginning, and then it slide downhill so that they realize that they are not guests. They are now the workers, and the benefits are so enticing that they need to stay, and yet they're going to figure out that this system is flawed. So I want them to understand that there's kind of the 1%, and then there's the 99%, and then there is the enforcers, kind of like the army. So they are going to be on the floor of the worker bees, ensuring that they don't do anything that is untoward. So that's essentially how it, and if you watch the first video where I have my hair all messed up, and the second video where I go on for, so that first video is 30 minutes, the second video is an hour and a half, but you can skim. But and it is funny at points. But it's kind of the creation of the NPCs, a full creation. And we're talking about the cast. So you get a full picture in that video. So if this is your first video watching, go back and look at those if you're interested in what this world that they're going into looks like. I'm pretty much sticking to everything as is. And of course, things will unfold as the characters interact. But I have a full slate, so I'll be able to draw out characters immediately without having to roll them up in the middle of a session. And because I have an image of them, and I know you may be very upset about AI, and I am not going to say that you are not right to be upset about AI, and maybe you are all in favor of AI, and I'm not going to be upset, and who gives a shit what I think. I'm just saying that in this situation, this works for them and probably would work for adults, where it's all pre-prepared. You have everything ready, and you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I need an NPC all of a sudden because this situation has arisen. I've got it all planned out. So I know now that I really do have to pre-prepare for a bunch of bodyguards, because those 7, all they're interested in is partying. They are not interested in the rabble. And so they need to have a group that reports to whoever is on charge that day, who hates being in charge that day. So they'll probably rotate around every 7 days, and nobody will really know who the leader is or anything like that, but that will be uncovered. So I'm really happy about the way that this has worked. I'm happy about the work that I've put into it. I'm happy that I shared it with you, because I just literally was like, oh, I've got to do this for tomorrow, and said, fuck the way my hair looks. I'm just going to do it. And that was afternoon nap hair. I hope that you've enjoyed this. I haven't put up videos for, I think, a couple of months, and so now all of a sudden you get 3, so you're probably jarred. I will probably do another video fairly soon about another project that I'm working on, about a game that I am absolutely in love with, one that you may not know about and has not been on your radar at all because it's not in English. And so it is an absolutely fantastic game, and I cannot wait to play it, and I'm excited to talk about it. So, with that, take care, have a great day, and I hope that your holiday celebrations are moving the way that they should be moving. And if not, well, I hope that you get the comfort that you need in this stressful and possibly annoying time. Take care.